So today we're taking a look at Duette UltraGlide shades, and I'm looking at my Duette UltraGlide that I have here, and things to understand about the Duette UltraGlide is there's two lift mechanisms inside an UltraGlide, top down, bottom up. So here's my top down, bottom up shade. The UltraGlide lift on the right moves the center rail. The UltraGlide rail operator here on the left moves the bottom rail. So when I'm looking at this, the most likely lift to wear out is the left hand lift because it's lifting the entire weight of the fabric in the shade. The right hand lift, lifting the center rail here, lifts about a third of the weight. It never really realizes the full weight of the fabric on it. So it's really lifting a lot less weight. So it's kind of something we want to just be aware of, is how to change out the UltraGlide lift. I'm going to go ahead and start working on this guy here, and we're going to take a look at it and just start popping the end caps off. When I pop the end cap off, I take a look in the end here. Here's my right hand lift here. And it's got this protrusion here going down into the slat. I think you can see it there. Something I want to do is get a piece of something very thin. A small ruler will work. This is a piece of 3/4 inch slat, but I want to be able to have this, and basically to get this thing apart I have to have it. If I go cutting that pin off, when I go to reassemble the shade, it's going to disengage from the drive shaft. So I'm going to take this slat here, I'm going to take it and just drive it underneath that pin. Now I can come in with a pair of needle nose pliers, grab onto the feature here on the end of the lift and pull it out. And I don't recommend standing the shade on end towards a camera to do it, but I can just gently pull that guy out. Here's the pin that we're talking about. Here's the hole in the slat that it was going through. So now I've removed my right hand lift. My right hand lift was okay on this shade. I'm going to go ahead and come over here and expose my left hand lift. And to do that, I'm going to take the end cap off here, slide the head rail back, and I'm just going to go ahead and slide it off all the way. I wouldn't necessarily slide it off all the way on a 100-inch wide shade if I was in a home. But if I look at this, I can see the two sets of spools. The back spools here are driven by the left-hand lift. The front spools here are driven by the right-hand lift. It would just come in from the side here, operate those two different sets of spools. So two separate lifting systems inside the shade. My left-hand lift, for whatever reason, is not working. I'm going to go ahead and take him out of the way, bring in my new left-hand lift, and there's a little bit of assembly that has to happen to the lift mechanism to make it operable. We're going to zoom in on this guy. Here's what it looks like, and realize it's the same lift for 3/8, 3/4, and 1 1/4. Just the components I attach to it change. I'm going to go ahead and put the glider on here. This is the 3/4 inch pleat glider. Snaps onto the end here, pops through this pin here on the bottom, and it snaps onto the front and rear. That guy's ready to go. Here's my shift mechanism on the lift itself, but I have to attach the shifter arm. If I take a look at this guy, it tells me which one it is there. I've got the 3/4 inch pleat left hand lift. So this is the right shifter arm for my left hand lift mechanism. I'm just going to take it, these little grabby features here, attach onto the shifter mechanism, snaps into place. All right, now I got operation of my shifter mechanism. Going to pull this cord around to the front. That guy's ready to go back into the shade. I'm going to go ahead, when I go ahead and reinsert this into the shading here, and line that pin up with the hole here. So I'm just going to reinsert the drive shaft into this feature here. This is my driver for the UltraGlide lift. Going to bring him around, slide him into place, get him on the drive shaft. And if I don't put the pin in the hole in the slat, this is going to disengage and move away from the drive shaft and disengage while I'm assembling this shade. It's going to make me kind of annoyed if that happens. I'm going to go ahead and bring my head rail in. The fabric fits into these two features of the head rail here that hold it into place. I want to be really careful that I don't tear the fabric when I'm reinserting it into the end of the head rail here. Don't want it to get caught on anything. Once it starts going, it usually goes pretty good. I want to check that rail for burrs or anything like that. Go ahead and slide everybody in. I want to make sure my pin's in place here at the end of the shade here and slide that in. Watch your shifter arm here. I don't want my cord to travel behind the shifter arm. I want to make sure it's coming through the front of it, and slide that shifter arm into its slot here, its notch in the head rail. At this point, I don't want to tilt the shade around at all. I just want to be rolling it front to rear. I'm going to go ahead and put this end cap on just to hold everything in that end of the shade. And when I look inside here, with my center rail all the way in the down position. I'm taking a look inside the end of the shaft here, and I really don't recommend doing this in the home. But if I take a look at that feature there inside there, that drive shaft inside there, having trouble focusing on it. I can see that groove there in the drive shaft is at about 4 o'clock, and I want to pull and make sure the drive shaft's in the down lowered position. That's where, in the down lowered all the way position, that's where that drive shaft's going to be. So what I want to do is, when I go to reinsert my lift mechanism, I want to make sure that lift mechanism is in the same position. So I'm just going to go opposite, which is about 7 o'clock as I'm looking at the lift. So I'm going to have that slide in so it lines up on the groove. Just have to look in there and see where the groove is to see if it lines up. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my piece of slat back in to make inserting the lift mechanism easier. I'm not fighting getting the pin here into that hole. Just going to come into the end here. I've lined up my groove with the groove in the shaft. Going to slide it on in, and I should kind of feel that shaft work onto the lift. And the lift, I've got to watch my shifter arm here. Look at my cord got wrapped around. My lift should slide right onto that shaft. Let's see if we got it. There it goes, right in there. Then I'm going to slide the lift out and make sure the pin ends up in the hole. All right, my lift's in there. I'm going to go ahead and reinsert my end cap onto the end of the shade. And look at that. I've just changed out my lift. One thing I've forgotten to do, though, is I've got to have a tassel on this lift. So I'm going to bring my old lift into the picture here. I'm going to take some hemostats and lock this cord off. And this is my old dead lift. Not really too worried about it. I'm going to lock my cord off here. I'm going to zoom in on the stop ball. Some people call it the football. And I'm going to take my millwright scribe, come around to the top of the football, and just rock that stop ball off of there. I'm going to show that again real quick. Snap the football back together. Having more trouble snapping it together than I did getting it apart. Snapping it together, there it is, good and strong. Come around to the top side, pull it around, rock it right off of there. Do it one more time. This is the part that people have like the most trouble with. Snapping it together. Well, we'll show snapping it together again on the new lift. So here's my new lift mechanism. Just going to put this guy on there, take my hemostats off so I can get a grip on this guy. Lock him off so it's not retracting up there. Don't want to be fighting that retractor. Go ahead, snap it into place. There I've replaced my lift mechanism and my pull cord for a Duette UltraGlide top down bottom up shade. Beautiful product designed to last years, completely serviceable.